Harry, I'm going to come straight to you. What do you think is going to be the number one selling driver of 2021?
I would say...
Hello, everybody. This is episode number 61 of No Putts Given. We have Tony, Harry, and Chris. I would say everyone wave, but first I need confirmation. Chris, is that a Ben and Jerry's shirt?
Yeah, it is. John Barba, steamed writer, went to did his little trip in Vermont, and I said, "God dang it, John, I need a Ben and Jerry's shirt." So he hooked me up. So I may wear this 3-4 weeks in a row.
All right. Well, we've got some juicy topics to dig into today, and I want to jump right into the first one. Chris, I hear that you have some breaking news about the alleged names of some 2021 drivers. Can you fill us in?
Yeah, so allegedly, we hear things from time to time, and it's all part of the fun in the games. And this is so looking into 2021. Here's what we're hearing. We already know Titleist has TSI coming out, but here's a couple names that we're hearing out there.
But do you know what the I stands for?
Interesting. You're going to tell us in a second, Tony. You're going to tell us because
I think it's actually embargoed. The use of the letter I is protected.
Of course it is, because we're hearing about TaylorMade Sim 2, like a sequel, Cobra Rad, like the 1980s BMX bike movie that should live in.
Totally.
Yes.
I can confirm that is a yeah.
And get this one.
Thanks, Jose.
Callaway Epic Speed. That's what I'm hearing.
All buzzwords. All buzzwords.
I'm just saying, allegedly, okay. I can't confirm or deny.
Well, I mean, that gels, right? Because they go back and forth between sort of like the Epic franchise and what was the Rogue franchise. And I swear, if the 2022 driver is not the Rapscallion, I'm done with it. Like that's
then it's over. It's over. But the thing is, so maybe start with the Epic one. Yeah, you're right. Like it's back and forth, right? So you had, Rogue kind of opposite the other line, which had become Epic, and you had Epic, original Epic, and then Flash and Rogue jumped in there. Now you have Maverick, Star for the Japanese contingent, where basically it was just lighter components and more expensive. And then now potentially, right, Epic Speed. So what's in a name? What does that tell you?
Is there a subtext on Sim 2? Is it like Sim 2, Sim ear?
Sim again. Sim more
Simish than the first.
Well, I think that's the hard part with the sequel is like, obviously TaylorMade got pretty burned on the IER type of thing. So how do you do something and then do it better? I mean, those jokes still stick around, and so I think the Sim. I think the sequel part's hard. I mean, that's why movies suck generally, right? Sequels, other than maybe Godfather. I'm good with Sim 2. Are you?
I'm like, I'm satisfied with that.
You're good with Sim 2. It's safe, right? It's safe.
Zero confusion on that.
Yep, it's safe.
How about the Rad though? The Cobra Rad.
Rad Speed, yeah. I mean, and Rad will no doubt stand for something, or
research and design.
They came up with Rad and then figured out what it should stand for. You never know quite. I'm sure I'll find out soon enough, but that's Cobra. Try and keep it fun to a degree. So, and we can joke about names all day, but if on an annual basis, if you're asking, which you didn't, but I'm going to pretend you did, like whose driver I'm always going to be most interested in seeing, it's going to be the Cobra one, because in my opinion, it's the company that is pushing the boundaries of innovation most consistently and doing real things, right? Maybe not just telling stories and coming up with, a compelling narrative, but actually R&D and real technology and just, to borrow their phrase, cool stuff that works. So we can laugh about the name, but I definitely want to see what's up there.
There's the movie, Rad. Love that movie, 1980s. BMX bike. So I guess maybe that's the question. Yeah, of those three releases, what are you most potentially excited about? Tony, you can already answer that. Okay, sorry.
You're getting ahead of me.
Let Miranda run the show, damn it.
Because I have a hot seat. hot seat. It's time for the hot seat. There you go. That's what I'm looking for, Tony.
All right.
Harry looks embarrassed.
I am very embarrassed.
Harry's like,
That's okay. That's my
I'm
job.
married to her. I work with him. This is terrible.
That's fine. So, the hot seat. Knowing what we know, get out your crystal balls or whatever the fortune teller hat is. Put those on because I want to know, Harry, I'm going to come straight to you. What do you think is going to be the number one selling driver of 2021?
The one with the longest shaft. No, I would say Titleist could surprise you this year. They've been making incremental increases every single year when it comes to the driver. Like, it was really spinny and now it's maybe a little bit less spinny. I think it's going to be Titleist, or I think Cobra could do it this year. They took a step back in 2020 compared to the F9, in my personal opinion. But I think they're going to do it this year. I think they're going to push that number one spot.
All right, Tony, how about you? You've predicted this before, so can you do it again?
So,
the number one selling driver of 2021.
Look, it's always a coin toss. It's nice to think Cobra has a chance, but if you ask Cobra, they'll tell you they're not going to get there. I think Titleist would tell you that they expect to gain share this year, but they won't get to number one, and that's not really their focus. So this is always a two-horse race. And within that, I think it's going to be TaylorMade. I think maybe Callaway, unless they come out and blow the doors off with not just a really good story, but really nail the cosmetics, right? The shelf appeal of the driver, which I think they whiffed on with Maverick. I think if they can do those two things, maybe they stay on top. But my hunch is the market has a little bit of epic fatigue. Like, going to the well one too many times with that same name. Everything has a shelf life. So if you pin me down and sort of legitimately not knowing anything other than the names of the two drivers, I would put my money down on TaylorMade in 2021.
All right, Chris, we've got a Titleist / Cobra, TaylorMade. What do you think? Who's going to be the number one selling driver in 2021?
I think there's different categories. Number one at retail, I think, is going to be TaylorMade, and I'll tell you why. I think what Harry's alluding to is I think there's opportunities for brands to take a big step forward as well. TS Series was a step forward for Titleist. Absolutely. It was a big step forward for them, really arguably kind of put them in the conversation again with this modern driver category. Historically, they've always been pretty middle of the road.
Same.
Yeah.
Safely average, middle of the road. Cobra, like I said, thing I really appreciate about Cobra is they do push different boundaries and limits and things. And yes, sometimes that may mean they take a step sideways or maybe even backward, but they're constantly looking to push some areas. So they're going to, if that goes well, they could absolutely gain some share. But in terms of the retail environment, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, it's a different beast altogether. And so I go back to Q1 and beginning of Q2 in 2020, and who was leading at that point in time? It was Sim. TaylorMade was absolutely faster out of the gate. It was ahead of Callaway when coronavirus hit and effectively retail kind of shut down there in mid-March. And so I have no reason to think otherwise, that it's not going to pick up kind of right where we left off. And that could be part of the naming convention piece, is not wanting to separate itself too much from what had been a really hot start for them. So I'm going to say TaylorMade for those reasons, 2021.
I'm writing all of these down so that we can come back a year from now and see who was right. Maybe there's a prize. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to our second topic of the day. Chris, I'm going to let you kind of explain this one as well, because when I first heard this vocab word, I wasn't exactly sure what it was. So can you explain to us very briefly what SPIFs are?
Yeah, so any of us that have worked in retail, whether you worked at a car dealership, or I remember in high school I worked at a clothing retail store where we sold a lot of pants. That was just kind of the thing. Basically, SPIFs are kind of short-term based incentive kickbacks to a salesperson for promoting a specific product. Sometimes people say it stands for like a sales performance incentive fund. Or some variation of that terminology, but it would be like, hey, all right, car dealership, here you go over the weekend. Anybody that sells a truck, we're pushing trucks this weekend. You get an extra $1,000 for every truck to sell. That'd be an example of a SPIF.
Okay, so how does it come into play in golf? And do you think that it's hurting golfers' games?
How does it come into play in golf? The same way, right? Where a company would come into a large retail chain and say, all right, for these 2 months, let's call it March and April, because we know a lot of large OEMs will do, roughly 50% of their sales for the year on a normal year, 50% of their sales for the year in Q2. So that's March, April, and May. And with that, they say, okay, how can we incentivize sales staff to push our product ahead of somebody else's? So they might go into a large retail chain and say, all right, here's the deal. Salespeople, when you hit these targets over the next 60 days, we're going to kick you back a specific amount of cash. Now, keep it in mind, a lot of times at these big box stores, right, these are hourly wage employees making $10, $12 per hour. So an extra $100 in the paycheck, that's kind of how it goes.
Okay. Harry, have you ever walked into a retail store, probably before you started working for MyGolfSpy, and felt like you were a marked man, that somebody was trying to sell you something specific? Maybe there was a bonus involved, maybe not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could go into any golf store, whether it's the big name brands or the smaller stores that are still affiliated with the major OEMs, and you get market share of how much you sell. Yeah, you're always going to get pressured into buying, or how can I put it, pushed upon bigger name brands when it comes to your first ones you're going to try. You're not going to try the smaller brands. They're going to push you the big brands that everyone knows about, because they're the ones that typically are the biggest margins in commission. I've always felt pressured into buying one of the top three, Titleist, Callaway, or TaylorMade when it comes to any product. That's one of the problems right there. But I know there are stores out there that do have the consumer at heart. It's a very small percentage from my personal experience, but there are companies out there that will do it. But the biggest problem is, at the end of the day, money talks.
So, Tony, the bigger brands do typically perform fairly well in our testing, but is sales incentive type bonuses, is it hurting the game of golf for, the average golfer that goes to pick up a new club or two?
I would say probably if you're not getting fit properly, not taking the time to go through that process, you're essentially buying a lottery ticket anyway, right? To borrow Adam's phrase. And so if you're playing the lottery, do you give them numbers, or do you just let the machine pick it? It's pretty much a similar situation there. So, in that respect, like I said, if you're not taking the time to get fit, it ultimately probably doesn't matter. I do think it is important to clarify that the SPIF rules are different at different stores, different chains. So PGA Tour Superstore, for example, they don't do SPIFs. They are vocal about it from what I understand. So, and they're also big proponents of fitting. They're not fans of, even if you're a guy who's just going to go and grab a TaylorMade driver off the rack, they still want you to go into the hitting bay and experience it before you pay for it. So at Dick's Sporting Goods, the other massive golf retailer, the situation there is manufacturers essentially all pay into a SPIF pot, if you will. So everybody kicks into a pot, and then essentially sales associates are incentivized for selling something, right? Not necessarily a specific brand. That being said, there is some like bonus upon bonus kind of thing, some secondary deals that do come through from what I understand. And then when you get into sort of the smaller regional chains, the one-offs and things like that, it's been described to me as the wild, wild west, where basically anything goes, spiffs run wild.
Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, and keep in mind too, it's not just golf clubs, shoes, another category as well, where spiffs come into play. So basically, guys are getting bonuses to put you into golf clubs and golf shoes and things like that. But again, same rule with a driver as with a shoe. If you're not going to take the time to get one that fits you, it's kind of on you.
All right. So moving on to our third topic, we just talked about shoes and how you definitely need to try those out before you buy them. But Harry, you've come across in the last couple of weeks a super cool thing that you can put into your shoes, and it's like a portable force plate, right? They're called salted insoles. So, Chris, I don't know if you're as familiar with these. Tony, I know you've seen them. Harry, can you explain what the salted insoles are? And then I've got a follow-up question for everybody.
I thought it was salted caramel something, to be honest with you. I saw salt, I was like, this is going to be tasty. So hook me up.
It is tasty. It is tasty.
Insoles are typically not tasty.
Well, this certain product is tasty. I was just going over social media one day, and this come up, and picture a force plate. You see all the pros using the ground effectively by loading one side and then coming up with vertical force and hitting a peak right at impact, and then finishing on your left side, on your heel preferably. So you see all of these vertical forces and lateral forces when it comes to your weight dynamic and your weight shift. Now, those kind of brands and models can range from, 12 to 19 grand when you have them in your fitting studio, which is a ridiculous amount of money. Now, what if I could tell you that salted can give you close to it, to the 18 grand model for $200. And we have tested them in here. We got them in, and there's not that many products that come in here and I'm like, holy shit. I get taken back. And this one took me by surprise because it was so cool. Yes, they have kinks in their app. Yes, there's room for improvement, but I would buy these in a heartbeat, and that's saying something.
All right, Tony, what do you think? Are salted insoles the coolest product that we've seen this year?
It is. I mean, this is very rare that, I'll see. So I was looking at the draft of the post that Harry wrote and looking at some of the imagery and seeing how it works and what the graphics are compared to the more expensive kind of enterprise grade products. And it is a little bit of that sort of, Foresight, Flight Scope, TrackMan versus Rapsodo type of conversation. But I looked at that and I was like, that is cool. I want these. I'm like, Harry, go find me a set of these. Like, it's just one of those things because it's just kind of have that visual of going, what am I doing with my weight in the golf swing? And fundamentally, is what I'm doing stupid? Is this just not right? And so, to see that how the weight is moving back and forth and how much force is being applied on the the leading side and the trailing side, and it's it just looks really cool. Harry says it works pretty well. It's a simple concept, right? You charge them up, stick them in your shoes, fire up an app, and you're rolling. Yeah, I was like, yeah, that is cool. That is definitely cool.
Chris, do you think some force plate insoles would benefit your game?
I mean, I guess I can't see how they wouldn't. It's if you're increasing knowledge, like I couldn't tell you if I'm shifting my weight appropriately. I can tell you that there's weight to shift. I don't know if I'm shifting it appropriately. And so it's, I guess I
Based
can't...
on that legendary video from the PGA show, no,
I am not. So Tony would indicate there is room for improvement, but I think it falls into that category a little bit of you don't know what you don't know. And I remember, this was maybe 3-4 years ago, Tony, something like that at the PGA show when FootJoy kind of had a similar setup there. You could try and choose, and they had kind of this force pad type thing where you would hit
body track, maybe.
Yeah, something like that, where you could get kind of a reasonable estimation of, and this was their whole thing around: did you need a more stable shoe, or did you need the frog shoe, the freestyle one that you like?
Bring back the freestyle.
Bring it back. And I needed something really stable, I guess, because my feet were all over the place. But I didn't really know what I didn't know, and I would say that's still the case of if this can help give golfers information that they don't have otherwise, and you're removing a barrier, right? Like I said, 18, 20,000, or going to a studio or someplace where this is, part of the suite of teaching products. Good luck with that, right? But if it's a $200 thing, could that help improve my game? Yeah, probably. I would try it. Absolutely, I would try it.
The article came out today, so you should definitely check that out. Harry did a really good job of introducing us to these. But Harry, they would probably benefit me, don't you think? Like, I definitely have trouble figuring out how my weight should shift.
I mean, yes, they would help everyone as long as someone understands what the transition of weight can equate to in your swing. And and here's the cool thing about them. It's not just intended for golf. You can download an app and use them at the gym to see if you're if your body weight is correct when deadlifting or whatever, squatting.
Oh.
And then there's one for running. There's a 2 or 3 that you can use. So it's a multi-purpose insole. So you can identify and get better at every sport that you do. So it is, in my opinion, one of the best products that's come out of 21.
Moving on, I want to know from each of you guys, Tony, how about you first? If you could name a driver, what would you name it?
Sim 2? Yeah, I don't know. That's fortunate. I get to sit in this position and make fun of bad names without actually having to come up with a good one. So yeah, 921, that kind of thing. 1021. I like the year name. I like kind of that.
Very technical.
Yeah, the Mizuno approach. I'd keep
All
it
right.
boring as shit and sell 5 of them.
The TC 201.
Yeah, exactly. TC 9021. Exactly.
Yep.
Chris, how about you? What would you name a driver?
Probably name it after ice cream flavors or food.
I knew it.
So I would have like the like the
roast beef.
Yeah, like the Cobra, like it'd be like the Cobra flank steak. Like how does that not sell well?
I would like roast beef would be like, remember, like rocket balls, right? Like
Yeah.
This is a ridiculous name. Haha. I got to try that roast beef driver.
Yeah, you don't think
I'm
people
in.
are signing up like, and I mean, where's the beef? Boom, it's 285 yards down the fairway, buddy. That's where it is.
Movable weight is a piece of Swiss cheese.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so many options. Yeah, I think I'd go with like the Cobra flank steak or the Cobra roast beef.
All right. I like that. Harry, what have you got? What would you name a driver?
I would, this fits my personality, I would just be like, it's shakalaka, right?
Shiblang blanc.
Shiblang blanc. So it would be, I would just be like, if I hit a good one, I'd be like, boom, shakalaka. And that would be me. Yep. You're welcome.
NBA jams.
I like that.
You're going back to like
I'm
1990s
going back,
video
I'm going
games.
to 90s, shakalaka. Yep,
Yeah.
that's me.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd like to change my answer.
You may change your answer.
I would go with like the mic drop. And then my commercial would just be like a guy hitting a bomb off the tee box, turning to his group and just being like,
Boom. The TC mic drop.
yeah. just
Done.
like that.
There you go. I like that. While we're creating our own driver names, if you want to take a look into the true cost of a $500 driver, check out this video. We break it down there for you. Until next time, we'll see ya.